The sacrifice. Mama Nkechi lived in the heart of Umudum village, a small, dusty place where the earth was red and the sun never seemed to sleep. Her hut was made of mud bricks and patched with pieces of old cloth to keep out the wind. Inside, there was barely enough space for her and her only son, Abina, a boy of 12 who had inherited his father's quiet strength. Life had not been kind to Mama Nkechi. Her husband had died 5 years earlier in a motor accident on his way to the city. Since then, she had taken up all sorts of work, fetching firewood, washing clothes, and even pounding yam for weddings, just to feed herself and her son. Yet, she never complained. Her eyes always held a kind of fire, a silent vow that her son would not suffer as she had. Abina was a bright child. His teachers always said, "Dis boy na light o. E go carry village name go far." He loved books more than food, and every evening, while other children played football on the dusty field, he would sit under the mango tree, reading by the dim light of a kerosene lantern. One day, the school sent a notice. Abina had passed his common entrance examination and had been offered admission into St. Joseph's Academy, a prestigious secondary school in the state capital. It was the kind of school that produced doctors, lawyers, and even senators. Mama Nkechi's hands trembled as she read the letter. Her heart swelled with pride, but it also clenched in fear. The fees were high, 10 times what she had saved in her small tin box under the bed. That night, she could not sleep. She stared at the leaking roof, thinking of all the ways she could raise money. The next morning, she went from house to house, asking for work. She even approached Madame Igioma, the richest trader in the village, and offered to scrub her compound for 2 weeks straight. No rest, no food, just to get paid. Madame Igioma looked at her and scoffed. "You want kill Yasf because of school. Dat boy fit learn carpentry na. No be all of us go become lawyer." But Mama Nkechi stood firm. "Abina go dat school. I no care if I sleep for ground. He go wear dat uniform." By the end of the week, she had only managed to gather half the fees. Her hands were blistered, her feet swollen, but her spirit remained strong. Then she did something desperate. She sold her wedding ring, the only thing of value she had left from her husband. She cried when parting with it, but she whispered to herself, "You give me joy once, now help me give joy to our son." On the day of Abina's departure, the entire village gathered at the motor park. Even the headmaster came with a packet of biscuits and a worn-out school bag as a gift. Abina looked back at his mother, tears in his eyes. "Mama, I go make you proud," he said. Mama Nkechi held his hands tightly. "Just promise me say you go read well, you go fear God, and you no go forget where you come from." As the bus pulled away, she waved until it was just a cloud of dust in the horizon. She walked back home slowly, her heart full of hope but her pockets empty. That night, she ate only gari and slept with a smile on her face. But destiny, as it often does, had other plans. 1 week later, a letter arrived. Abina had been hospitalized. Something about a fever and convulsions. The school needed money for treatment. Mama Nkechi fell to her knees, the letter clutched in her hand. A mother's cry. The letter shook Mama Nkechi to her bones. She read it over and over, each word like a stone in her chest. Abina Day Hospital, the letter said. Malaria. Severe. He needed treatment urgently. She didn't have the money. Not a single kobo to her name. The school had done their best, but they were asking for help now. And what could she do? The villagers had already helped as much as they could. Even Madame Igioma, who never gave out anything for free, had offered her an old wrapper when Abina was leaving for school. Mama Nkechi walked from house to house, feet dragging, voice trembling as she pleaded for help. Some gave her small coins, others turned away, already tired of her constant begging. "We get our own wahala too," they'd say. "Not only you get Peking." But one old man, Baba Chakwudi, took pity on her. He was a retired carpenter whose own children had left for the city and never returned. "I no get money," he told her, "but I get goat. Sell go help small." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she accepted the gift. She carried the goat on her back to the market, her feet sore and cracked. The traders haggled with her like she was nothing. "Dis goat lean I go give you small money." She sold it anyway. The money was just enough to send to the school for Abina's medicine and food. That evening, as the sun disappeared behind the hills, she sat under the mango tree, holding her rosary tightly. "God," she whispered, "I don't get strength again. But you get. Help my Peking. I no ask for mansion or money. Just let my boy survive." A few days later, a teacher from the school called. Abina was recovering, slowly but surely. "He day strong, ma," the teacher said. "The boy no gree give up. Say na him mama day fight for am." Mama Nkechi wept with relief. It was the first good news she had heard in weeks. She clutched the phone like it was a treasure. For the next few days, she redoubled her efforts, cutting firewood, fetching water, cleaning compounds. Anything to make sure she could keep sending little things to Abina. And Abina, on his end, didn't disappoint. He returned to class with determination. Even though his body was weak, his mind was sharp. He topped his class again by term's end. At the village, word began to spread. "Dat widow's son no be ordinary boy oh." People began to nod respectfully at Mama Nkechi when she passed. Children whispered that she was a woman of fire. But even fire can grow cold. One rainy afternoon, as she was returning from the stream with a bucket of water on her head, she slipped on a muddy slope and hit her back hard against a stone. She screamed, the pain shooting through her spine like lightning. The bucket rolled away, water mixing with the rain. Villagers rushed to help, but by the time they carried her home, she could no longer walk properly. Her back had been badly injured, and the local herbalist could do little. "She go need big hospital," he said, "and plenty money." Money. Again. Abina was informed, and he wanted to come back immediately, but Mama Nkechi sent a message instead: "No return. I day okay. Just focus on your books." But she wasn't okay. She couldn't work. She couldn't fetch water. She couldn't even stand upright without crying. The pain was deep and constant. Days turned to weeks. Hunger became a shadow in her home. It was during one of those nights, her stomach rumbling, her hands shaking from weakness, that she saw Abina in her dreams. He was wearing a white coat, standing before a hospital full of sick people, healing them with a gentle smile. A doctor. She woke up with tears in her eyes. "Na sign," she whispered. "God day show me say go make am." So she did the only thing she could. She began to sell the little things in her home, her stool, her cooking pot, even the mattress. She laid on the bare floor now, with only an old wrapper beneath her, but her spirit refused to break. The day Abina returned for holidays, he met the house nearly empty. He dropped his bag and ran to her side. "Mama, why you no tell me?" She smiled weakly. "You for do weddin', leave school." "No, you go finish. That's the only gift way I fit give you." He held her hands tightly, tears running down his cheeks. "I go take care of you one day, Mama." I swear. She nodded. I know. Rising from ashes, Abina stayed through the holiday, refusing to return to school immediately. Dem fit teach me anytime, he said, but you be my only mother. But Mama Nkechi, even in pain, remained unshaken. You wan make all my suffering waste, she said, voice cracking but firm. Go back. Learn well. That na the only thing way fit lift us from this mud. So, with a heavy heart, he packed his few belongings and returned to St. Joseph's Academy. This time, something had shifted inside him. He no longer read just to pass. He read like a man possessed. In class, he became a lion, answering questions, asking more, spending late nights in the library. He started winning prizes, small at first, best in biology, best essay. Then came the science fair. Abina built a solar-powered lantern from scrap metal and old plastic bottles. The judges were stunned. Who taught you this thing? They asked. He smiled. My mama taught me say light day inside every darkness. I just try find my own. News of the fair reached the ears of the local radio station. They did a short feature on the poor boy with bright ideas. Someone from the Ministry of Education heard the broadcast. Then came the miracle. One afternoon, the school principal called Abina to his office. Pack your things, he said. Sir, you've been offered a full scholarship. Secondary school, university, everything paid for. Even stipend for your mother's upkeep. The governor himself approved it. Abina dropped to his knees, eyes wide, heart thundering in his chest. Sir, not true. Yes, my boy. And they want to meet your mother too. Back in the village, Mama Nkechi was sitting on her mat, peeling cassava with shaking hands when Abina arrived, running breathless from the bus station. He fell to the ground before her. Mama, God don do am. He told her everything, about the scholarship, the governor, the future that now had color. She stared at him, tears brimming. I tell you say God no day sleep, she whispered. All the firewood way I carry, all the ground way I sweep, all the tears way I cry, God don gather them like prayer. A week later, government officials arrived at the village in a black SUV. They helped Mama Nkechi into the car gently, her fragile body resting against the seat like a queen. For the first time in her life, she entered a city hospital. Scans were done, proper treatment began, and a nurse was assigned to her full-time care, all on the state's bill. Within weeks, her condition improved. She could sit upright without pain. The doctors said, she's strong past many young people way we day treat here. Not pure willpower. Back in school, Abina began mentoring other students, especially those from poor homes. He started a reading club and named it, Mama's Torch. He'd say, even if you no get money, if your spirit day alive, nothing fit hold you down. By the time he completed secondary school, his name was already known in state circles. He was offered a place at the University of Ibadan to study medicine. The first day he walked through the gates, he whispered, Mama, we don reach. Meanwhile, Mama Nkechi had become a symbol of hope in the village. People came to her for advice. Young widows sat at her feet, listening as she told them, not only one thing poor woman get, her belief. If you lose them, na finish be that. But not everyone was happy. Madam Igioma, watching from the shadows, hissed. Na so poor people they take rise these days. With cry and prayer. But even her bitterness couldn't dim the light that was now shining over Mama Nkechi's hut. Years passed. Abina excelled in medical school. He graduated top of his class, earning a federal award. During his induction, he wore a crisp white coat and invited his mother to sit in the front row. She came dressed in a new wrapper and gel, her back straight, eyes shining like 1,000 candles. When it was his turn to speak, Abina stood at the podium and pointed to her. "I am not here because I am the smartest," he said. "I'm here because a woman with cracked hands and a broken back refused to break her spirit. That woman is my mother. The strongest person I know." The hall erupted in applause. Mama Nkechi bowed her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. That night, she sat on a soft mattress for the first time in years, in a furnished apartment her son had rented for her. There was a fan spinning above, clean curtains on the window, and the smell of hot jollof rice from the kitchen. She looked around, then at her son. "My son, this life sweet if person fit endure. Thank you." Abina took her hand. "Mama, this not just the beginning. I go build you house. I go open clinic for village. Nobody go suffer like you again." She smiled. "As long as you fear God and remember who you be, you go far." He nodded. "I go carry your name to the ends of the earth." Full circle. 3 years after his graduation, Drive. Abina Chinedu stood beneath a wide, blue sky in Umudike village. A small crowd gathered before a new building, painted white with blue roofing, standing proudly on the land that once grew cassava and yam. A signboard at the entrance read, "Mama Nkechi Memorial Health Center, where hope begins." Women ululated. Men clapped. Children danced barefoot on the red earth, not understanding the full meaning but feeling the joy in the air. Abina stepped forward, microphone in hand. His voice, calm yet commanding, echoed through the speakers. "This clinic is not just brick and paint. It is a promise that no widow will ever watch her child die helplessly. That no child will ever suffer like I did. That no mother will ever sell her last pot to buy paracetamol." He paused and looked to the front row where Mama Nkechi sat in a wheelchair, dressed in a flowing white lace gown, her gel tied like royalty. Her back was straighter now, her smile broad and peaceful. "I name this clinic after the woman who gave everything," Abina said, his voice choking. "She is the reason I stand here. She is the fire that refused to go out." Mama Nkechi raised her hand slowly and waved to the crowd. The applause returned like a thunderstorm, heartfelt and raw. A ribbon was cut. The doors opened. Inside, the clinic had 2 wards, a pharmacy, a lab, and a maternity unit. It wasn't the biggest hospital in Nigeria, but to the people of Umudike, it was a palace of healing. From that day, the village changed. Children no longer died of simple fevers. Women gave birth in clean rooms. Old men received care for their aching joints. And at the center of it all was Dr. Abina, moving from patient to patient, treating not just with medicine, but with love. He trained young nurses from the village. He started weekend health talks, teaching hygiene and nutrition. His clinic became a beacon. Even neighboring villages sent their sick. Mama Nkechi spent most days sitting under the mango tree by the clinic, watching her son move like a prophet with a stethoscope. Villagers often came to greet her with gifts, plantain, fufu, dry fish. "You raise 'em well," they'd say. "You suffer, but see what'n God do." She would only smile and say, "Na God hand write this story." But time, as always, marches on. One cold harmattan morning, Mama Nkechi didn't wake up. She had passed gently in her sleep, her hands resting on her chest, a rosary wrapped between her fingers. Abina wept like a boy. Though he was now a man, with degrees and honors, in that moment, he was just her son again. The entire village mourned. They buried her behind the clinic, beneath A flowering frangipani tree. On her tombstone were the words Abina had whispered at the grave. Here lies a woman whose love lit a nation. Months passed. Abina returned to work, the pain still there but softened by purpose. The clinic grew, donations came in, and he expanded the maternity ward. He published medical papers and was invited to speak at international conferences. But he always introduced himself the same way. I am Drive, Abina Chinadu, son of a poor widow from Umudike. One day, a young girl approached the clinic with a torn dress and a sick baby in her arms. Her eyes were wide with fear. Abina knelt before her. You don't need to pay, he said gently. Just tell me what happened. She looked at him, unsure. He smiled and said, You remind me of someone. As he treated the child, he remembered a woman with cracked heels and strong arms, who had carried firewood for miles just to buy medicine. He remembered hunger, hope, and the sound of rain on a leaking roof. He remembered his mother, Mama Nkechi. And he knew, no matter how high he climbed, he would always return to where it all began. The fire she lit would never go out. Because sometimes, the poorest widow raises the richest soul. The end.